to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. Hi.
Hey.
Today is the day. I've got a sparkle hat and I've got a cane and I'm like, da-da-da-da. Today's the day. I don't even own any of those objects.
Get you a sparkle hat. I feel like you would find multiple uses for it.
Would I though? Where?
I don't know. I'm thinking of your theater background.
I know. But I never had a cabaret moment. Not really.
Well, that's too bad. I could see it. Weren't you in musicals?
What do you mean? Of course I was in musicals. It's not like you're obligated to do cabaret just because you were in a musical. It's not like
you never had a shiny hat or. Okay, well,
I mean, I was in jazz choir, but I never got to wear a shiny hat. Anyway, this is not interesting content for people. Okay, so today is the day that we are officially taking on new coaching clients, which we do 3 times a year. I mean, that's what we're doing now. I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. We officially take them on 3 times a year. We unofficially take them on whenever there's someone on the wait list, and then we have space for them. Yeah. So a couple of things that we want to share with you that are new. Well, actually, one big thing that's new. It's actually a throwback. It's not new.
It's actually new. Yeah, it's not new. It's old. Brought back.
It's new again. Okay, so I'm only promising this time. I don't know.
We don't know if we're going to keep this. We don't know if we're ever going to do it again.
Yep. No idea if I ever want to do this again. But because we're celebrating our 10 years as of this month, 10 years as coaches, we're launching a new site. It should be live now, by the way. If you want to check it out, hopefully it is. Let us know if it's broken.
As of our recording, but hopefully it's live by the time this is published.
So we have a lot of cool things on the thing I'm most excited about, by the way, like tangent on our new site, is that we have a library page and you can go and you can search for anything we've ever done. So if you're like, I want to hear them talk about whatever, like any word, the universe, type in the universe, every episode we've ever, where that's ever been mentioned in the show notes, universe is going to pop up. That's probably
not
a lot.
Only is there a way better search feature, because to be honest, in our old site, even Rachel and I would go to Google to search for certain blogs. Yeah. We would Google Clarity on Fire and the blog. I know. So we had to get a better search feature. So we finally have that. And you can also sort. So if you wanted to go to all of if you really love our book clubs, you can just you can kind of sort and it'll bring up all the book club episodes in one. We didn't have that before. It wasn't easy to find certain categories of different types of podcasts. And some of you really like certain ones over others, and now you can find them easier. So that, and of course,
not just podcast episodes, our old blogs too. Are all there.
Years of blog posts.
Yeah.
So anyway, many of you have never seen or heard. So it's all much easier to find now.
That's exciting. Okay. So anyway, that was a tangent, but I am excited about the fact that we have a new site. And then that is one of the better features of this new site, is that we've got a lot of content and now you can actually search it in a productive way if you want to go find something.
Okay, we left them hanging because we said we're bringing back something, and then we
Well, because I was
dangled
talking
that
about our
thread.
anniversary, and then I was talking about we launched a new site, and I'm going to try to get back into social media. Now that is a promise that, like,
Be patient with us.
we'll see if I keep that one.
Remember,
Like,
we're about 75 on the inside trying to do the social media thing. We're just not built for it, but we're going to try.
I'm a bad ex-boyfriend on the social media front. I'm like making a lot of promises and I'm probably not going to deliver. But anyway, so this time we are bringing back the option to do either 6 months of coaching or 3 months of coaching. We decided to stop offering that a year ago.
The 3-month option.
The 3-month option. And we just were like, you know what? It's only 6. That's it. As a special treat, this time, potentially only, we'll see how I feel about it next time. We're going to give you the option to do either or. And of course, you know, it is an option to start with 3 months and then do another 3 months, but it's also more cost effective if you start with 6 months. Mm-hmm. That said, we have a very limited amount of spots right now. Like we think 8. We think about 8, which is
that's not a lot of spots, which means if you know you want to do 6 months, you're going to get preference.
Yeah.
But we do want to give you the option of 3 months. We will talk to you about what the difference is. There's a pretty big difference in the experience that you will have. We're not going to get into it here. It's a more in-depth thing that's easier to talk through when we have a conversation to make sure it's a good fit, which, in case you didn't know already, that's always the next step. If you're pretty sure you want to do coaching and you want to start in the next few weeks, month, then you're not going to sign up on the site. You're just going to fill out a form to say, here's why I'm interested. Here's what I want to get into. Here's why the timing is good for me. And we're going to get on the phone and we're going to talk about it. And so we'll answer some of these questions. You don't have to know 100% for sure. I'm definitely ready to do this. But I would hope that you're pretty sure, pretty serious. Maybe have a few quick questions. Yeah. We'll get into it.
Yeah. You got to apply now, man. Mm-hmm. I'm serious about that. Take myself seriously.
But when you only have around 8 spots.
Yeah, you got to.
You got to apply for them because there's not a lot.
I can't just give them. I'm not giving them away like candy.
We don't have a lot of time.
I don't. Yeah. So who's coaching? I'm just going to do a real quick, like, who is coaching for? I think coaching is probably for you if you've been listening to this for a while and you've been resonating with pretty much everything you hear. Every time you listen to something, you're like, at least every episode, there's something that you're like, damn, yeah, that's right. I need to sit with that. Or, oh, wow, I didn't think of it like that. If you're feeling stuck in your career, more than that, if you're feeling like your whole life is a little bit stagnant,
and you know you want something different, but you don't have a clear enough picture of what that is to be able to move forward. That's who our coaching is for. That's what we're really friggin' good at. If I'm going to toot our horn, we're really good at helping you figure out to clear a lot of the muck that's built up internal that prevents you from knowing who you are, what you want, that prevents you from taking action, that might be creating some fear, some anxiety, some uncertainty, and then figure out what's underneath there. And what do I want, and how do I clarify that first and foremost to myself, and then get over the parts of myself that are preventing me from moving forward because it's kind of scary. We're really good at that whole process. In fact, we have a whole process that we will take you through, that we have taken hundreds, maybe more than that by now.
Yeah, that seems low. Through. It's been a decade. Yeah. It's not like a piddly amount of people. It's a significant, like arena full of people at this point.
I was just telling one of my clients recently that I was like, what's funny is I'm asking you to trust this process, But I'm also trusting the process. Thankfully, I know that the process works because I've seen it work so many times, but I even don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what your answers are going to be. We're going to figure this thing out together, but I know the process. I know how to walk you through the process. I trust it because it works every time. And all I'm asking is for you to trust the process that I'm going to walk you through. And that's the fun part. That's why I have not gotten bored of coaching after 10 years. It's because every time it leads to someplace I usually didn't expect and that they definitely didn't expect.
But always makes sense.
It always makes sense and always feels so much better.
Yeah. So in other words, I like to work with people who sound like one of my most recent clients who I just started with, who said, oh, this is just like, when I was telling her about the process, she was like, oh, this is just like this book writing course that I signed up for during the pandemic. Like, I really wanted to write a book, but I didn't know how to do that. And it was so overwhelming. And so I just signed up for this course and it was like, do this then. Turn this in today. Like, let's talk through this now. And she was like, and I wrote a book. And it was so much easier because someone was like holding my hand the whole time and like helping me like work through what I needed to work through when I needed to work through it, not like getting ahead of myself. And I was like, yeah, it's that, but for your whole life. And she was like, well, I'm okay. Yeah, I get it. And I'm in. And she was like, I'm here because like, yeah, I'd like my job to feel better. And I'd like to like my career more. But she's like, honestly, I just would like to become my most favorite self. And I was like,
oh, what
thank
a good
you.
Way to say it.
That's
I
what we do.
You to become your own favorite self. Yeah, I love that.
So if you would like to become your most favorite self, that's the point. And then that favorite self gets good shit. That's what we do. You get a job, you end up in a relationship, you just end up happier with yourself in your life. You like yourself. I mean,
and even before you get the shit, you like yourself and your life better. It's a win-win. As
we've talked about in a recent episode, you kind of have to like yourself in order to get the shit. Right? Anyway, so if you want to talk to us, there will be a link in the show notes to apply. You can
We're taking applications for the next 2 weeks. I don't know that we said. It's a 2-week window on Friday, May 13th. That's it. We go back to having a wait list. And
Kristen, Friday, May 20th.
Yep, the 20th. That would only be 1 week.
That would only be 1 week. It's 2 weeks.
Math.
But I will say, if we only got 8 spots and we're leaving this open for 2 weeks, the chances of you having to wait around, if you fill out that form on May 19th, you'd be sitting around for a while waiting to talk to one of us. So just like throwing that out there. Yeah,
it's open for 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean we won't run out before the 2 weeks are up.
Hopefully we do. It's better for you and me if we do. Sure. So I'm not going to hope for anything else
and all that.
Okay, so either link in show notes to apply, or you can go to clarityonfire.com and you can go to the work with us page and you can one-on-one coaching you will see as an option there, and you can scroll through, check it out, fill out the form. We'll talk to you about it to make sure it's right. I only got 8 spots to give away. I'm not giving it away to anyone I don't want to actually hang out with for 6 months or 3 months. I got to want to hang out with you intimately.
Spend the next 6 months together.
Yeah. And I have to be able to trust that I can actually help you, because otherwise I don't want to work with you. Right?
Well, that's why we want it to be a win-win. We want to enjoy the process. We want you to enjoy the process. And we want you to get a ton out of it.
Yeah. Which you will if you're the right fit. That's what we want to
make sure. Yeah. That's why we have that conversation, to make sure it's a good fit before we jump in. Okay. So we'll hear from some of you. And we'll remind you over the next couple of weeks. But for now, I say we jump into our Dear Krachel questions.
Okay. Do you want to read the first one?
I will. Okay. Dear Krachel, thank you for all of the wonderful work you do and put out into the world. I'm a thriver and work full-time from home. I've been trying to get a solo virtual private practice going for 2 years. I can't seem to stick to a concept or business idea. I've changed my website, podcast, YouTube channel, and changed courses in business multiple times. I've spent countless hours on classes, webinars, consultations, and more. I just can't seem to stay on one course. And when I try, I get discouraged that nothing is happening. I'm not getting any YouTube views or podcast downloads, etc. Could this be a sign that entrepreneurship is just not for me? I feel like I'm chasing something I want, but that doesn't want me. And that is from Tiffanny. Okay, Tiffanny.
One of my biggest fears is that what I want doesn't want me back. So this one did make me feel a little bit stabby in my heart. But I have a nuanced take on this. I don't believe that if you want something, that the answer is it just doesn't want me back. I don't think that if you have a desire, there's a reason for it. However, in Tiffanny's case, because she's a thriver, and we'll get into this a little bit more, I don't know that I fully trust her motivation for why she's trying to have a business.
Well,
and I'm not sure it's rooted in her thriver values, and that might be why it's not working.
Yeah.
Right?
The follow-up question that I wanted to ask her when I read this was, do you desire entrepreneurship or do you desire freedom and flexibility? In which case, entrepreneurship may or may not be the easiest route to get what you ultimately want. Now, if what you really want is entrepreneurship, that's a different conversation. But I want you to ask yourself, why do I want this? Because there's a reason, there's something that you imagine you're going to experience or feel as a business owner that you don't feel right now. And my hunch, because you're a thriver, is that probably what you want to feel is just more life freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe some more balance in your life. Maybe work feels like it's taking up too much time and this feels like it would give you more time.
Maybe it feels like it would be more fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Or less pressure. Or maybe it feels like a way to live life on your terms. All of which are things that as a thriver, you might very well be craving.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I don't want, because I know people take our quiz and they'll say, well, I think I maybe want to start a business, but I'm not a fire starter, so maybe I can't. So what I don't want is for you to think, I'm a thriver, so I can't start a business because it doesn't match my profile. I know many thrivers who are entrepreneurs. I'm half thriver myself and have been doing this for 10 years. So I don't want you to think that it's not suited to you. But I would say if you truly want to go down the entrepreneurial route, it's got to look different for you as a thriver than for somebody else. Right now, the way you're talking about this, you are watching all the webinars, you are taking all the classes, you are trying to make it work and manipulate it and get the view. It feels like a lot of pressure when I read this. Even if it's self-created pressure, like I gotta make this work. It doesn't feel fun the way I read this. And that might be part of why you're not sticking to it. Because to a thriver, they want low pressure, high enjoyment. This feels like high pressure, not enough enjoyment to stick with it.
Yeah. Remember, at their core, thrivers are more hobbyists than they are career people. The job is just the thing that they do that supports their lifestyle. So a thriver can totally have a business. If it feels like a fun hobby, is probably the best way for a thriver to have a business, though. So if the way you're approaching a business is, and I don't know this, but I just sense this could be true, I want this to save me from my full-time job. Like, I hate my full-time job. I want something to get me out of it. That right there is probably going to kill any motivation that you have. It's probably going to kill any mojo or desire or like zest for life that you might have. And you need that as a person, not just as a thriver. Like you can't start a business. You can't do anything if you've lost your mojo. So I think I think the intention behind why you're doing it and how you're doing it might not be compatible with your deeper values. If, however, you're able to approach a business as like, I'm just having fun. The results don't matter. I'm able to just like try things and experiment. And who cares that I'm changing my mind? Like, I'm having a good time. And if I make money, great. All of a sudden, you take the pressure off. You allow yourself to evolve and grow and, change your mind and have creativity, like move you in one direction to another. You might, ironically, actually get more views, have more, subscribers, like see the kind of metrics and the results that you're tangibly looking for. You might see those grow when you're just having a good time.
In fact, I'm almost convinced you will see those things grow, because what you said is, I'll try to do something, make a podcast, do some YouTube videos, and then I get discouraged that I'm not getting enough views. So then I stop. And so, of course, these things always take time at the start of any business. You have to be somewhat consistent in order to build on what you've already done and start to build some sort of a following and build some sort of people who are interested in what you're ultimately going to sell. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, especially as a thriver, and you're just doing it for the results, of course, that just killed the fun of it. Now, if you love making YouTube videos, if you're like, I would do this anyway, this is just kind of fun for me. Exactly. I love to share my thoughts over YouTube. And if I get some views, great, that'd be fun, that'd be validating. But like, I'm probably going to do it anyway, just because I like it. Then you're going to actually stick with it long term, which means over time, you're going to get more people interested in what you're doing. So I'm actually convinced you will get more results just by doing something consistently, because the real underlying goal of it is, I just like to do it.
Tell me if what I'm about to say is outrageous. I love when I start a sentence like that, by the way.
What a hook.
Well, I don't know. I just don't know if it's right or not for thrivers, but I feel like it is. I don't think thrivers should do anything for the results.
Unless the result is just having fun.
Well, that's what I mean. But like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think there are some people who are more aligned with, and they're more wired to do things purely for the result. Like, I will knuckle down and I'm going to do this, and it's going to feel like crap for a while, but I can do it for the result that I am committed to getting. Thrivers, I have never met a thriver who sounded like that.
I don't think that's an outrageous statement. I think that's just part of being a thriver.
They're like, if it's not fun, if it's not enjoyable, if it's not low pressure, I don't really want to do it.
And needing a particular result inherently creates pressure.
Yeah.
Because you're no longer doing it for the intrinsic value. You're doing it for the result. Adds pressure, kills it for a thriver. I think that's an accurate statement.
Yeah. As a fire starter, you can do things for the results all day long. You can kill yourself.
You can buckle down. I mean,
for the results.
To a fault. They can go to the other side. They can become workaholics and ignore what they need for the vision.
Right. When I say they can kill themselves, I'm not saying that in a positive light. I don't think there's any way to say that phrase in a positive spin, But yeah, no, they will and can and do a lot just to get the result. Thrivers don't do that. That's not how they operate. They don't enjoy
their... It's not going to last long at all for a thriver. So there's one of two things going on, Tiffanny. I think either you're approaching, maybe what you really and truly want is entrepreneurship, and the way you're approaching it is not suited to your thriver needs for low pressure, high enjoyment, in which case we can approach it differently, probably have a very different experience, and ultimately will get different results. But that's, again, not the point. Or maybe you think entrepreneurship is the only way to get the freedom or the flexibility that you want, and that may not have to be the only option. Because inherently, there is some pressure that comes with running a business. It's unpredictable. It's not steady. Even when you've been in business for 10 years, as we know, it's still up and down, and it can be a bit of a roller coaster. And so
and a lot of thrivers are not suited to that roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
They value stability and predictability too much, and it's not fun.
So I'm almost wondering if you might have a belief that a job can't give you the freedom and flexibility that you want. And so it has to be entrepreneurship. And I'm not convinced that has to be true.
Mm-mm.
I would be curious if you sought out some examples of people who have a ton of freedom and flexibility and fun and enjoyment in their job, that they're employed by somebody else, and see, does that start to make you question if you can get your needs met in a job?
Yeah. The TLDR version of this is thrivers are not grinders. And she sounds like she's grinding all the time, which means she's not actually being a thriver, which is why she's not happy and why things aren't working. Because when you work in a way that aligns with who you are and how you're wired, you will see results. But you have to work in the way that works for you. And so it's not that it doesn't want you back. It's that you're probably doing it in a way that just is not compatible in some way or another with how you're wired. Whether that means you're just supposed to do it as a hobby and like, who cares about the results? Or yeah, like Kristen said, whether maybe entrepreneurship actually isn't your thing and you just think it's the only vehicle to get you where you really want to go. Well, we've given Tiffanny a lot of food for thought, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. And hopefully a lot, because I know a lot of thrivers who think they want their own business. And sometimes it's true. And sometimes, like you said, it's really their way of wanting to escape.
Right. It's like the best idea they can come up with for escape, but it's not really suited to them.
So I have a feeling this is relevant to more than just Tiffanny.
Oh, for sure. And I like my new mantra that if you grinding, you ain't thriving.
You can't thrive and grind at the same time.
You cannot.
And if you're a thriver, you're just not meant to grind. And you know what? Own it. Own it. We need
It's
less
so great.
grinders in the world. Like, it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Question number 2. Dear Krachel, what is your advice for people who struggle with mental health disorders and how they navigate their passion and career? Most people with mental health issues feel that because it's something that's difficult to control, they'll never truly enjoy their life, let alone find their passion. And even if they find their passion, their mental health might not even allow them to enjoy it. How does the law of attraction help people with mental health struggles? I'm not sure if the universe can give me a new brain. Sad face. Thank you, Tina.
Okay, Tina, we have multiple thoughts for you. I want to first do a little bit of a disclaimer because we are not therapists. We are not trained to diagnose or treat mental health. We're going to do
even if we were, we couldn't do it over a podcast anyway.
No,
so on multiple levels, we cannot give you any sort of real feedback on your mental health challenges. But we can talk about our mental health challenges. We can talk about
our experience with people who are in a similar situation.
Sure.
Okay. With that in mind,
would you like to call out the most egregious part of this?
Yes. Yes.
Well, okay. First of all, before you do that, I want to acknowledge Tina and her struggle. Like, she's not wrong that a lot of us struggle with our mental health in one way or another, and it does make life more challenging. It makes it more challenging to even just wade through the thicket of your own thoughts. If you have a ton of feelings and you have a lot of highs and lows, it does make it difficult to chart a path and then consistently take action and like consistently see yourself grow and change. So
and sometimes it's harder to fully enjoy and appreciate all the moments of even when you get the things that you want, because there's just more you're processing internally. There's more internal factors and there's more self-regulation that has to happen. And sometimes you get unregulated and it makes it harder. That is very true.
And how many times have I told you in my lower moments, I don't think that my brain was wired to do life very well. Like, I'm just not good at doing life.
I think I've told you the same thing in different contexts.
Yes, for sure you have. So, okay.
So we're familiar personally with how this really does impact your decisions and your daily experience. And so none of this, please don't think any of this is coming from any kind of I don't know, flippant place. And
we got to call out the thing that is really bugging me. I got to call
out the belief here that I don't think is actually grounded in truth. You said most people with mental health issues feel that because it's something difficult to control, they will never truly enjoy their life or find their passion.
I'm sorry, Tina. Do you know something I don't? Did you personally poll everyone with mental health issues?
I'm like, where is the statistic from? I've never heard this one before.
Most people. I'm like, really? This is the first I'm learning of that.
Mm-hmm.
I am also one of those people, and I never got a poll. I never received the survey. And by the way, I don't agree. So let's just start there.
That's why we're calling it out, because I think it's easy to get caught up in these beliefs that feel like you have your own experience to back them up. Maybe you've heard from a few people, and you're getting some validation that your perception of the experience of being someone who struggles with mental health is this way, period. And so it's easy to start to believe that's just the reality. That's how life is. Well, I'm going to struggle with this. We want to poke holes in that, because one of the really cool things about having coached so many people over the last decade is I've gotten a glimpse into more people's brains and the depths of who they are than pretty much anyone I know. And I can tell you, I've done more of the polling unofficially.
Tina, she just owned you.
No, I feel like coaches who end up doing the polling. What are people's beliefs?
No, you're right. I'm just letting Tina know that she just got served by Kristen of all people.
I'm not usually the one who serves anyone.
I know. She's like, oh, but I didn't mean to serve you, Tina. I apologize.
I mean, but it's kind of true. I know the common beliefs that people get stuck in. And I'm not convinced by this one. Which I want to be a good thing. I want you to realize maybe this is not the only experience that I can have. Maybe I'm not prevented from truly enjoying my life, or from finding my passion, or from enjoying my passion if I did find it. I know a lot of examples of people who have struggled with depression, anxiety, ADHD, all over the spectrum, who have had a very different experience from what you're describing.
Is Tina ready for me to serve her now? She got to warm up. Is she ready for the main course? Is she ready for the main course? Okay, Tina. Okay, I struggle with. I'm an anxious depressive. I've owned that. I've talked about that so many times. Kristen has ADHD. Like, we have our own struggles.
Without the age.
Well, whatever.
The opposite of the age.
He has ADD, whatever. Yeah, you're like
whatever the opposite of hyperactive is.
Hypoactive is what that would be called. So anyway, we have had our own and continue to do our own struggles, and have had to navigate all sorts of ways to manage and like show up as people. And I'm here to tell you that not only do I disagree that people with mental health issues will never truly enjoy their life, let alone find their passion. I think that people who are sensitive, and I think people who struggle with mental health and people who are sensitive are the same, like highly sensitive people. They feel things more deeply. You know, they're more awake to the pain but also the joy and the beauty of the world. And, you know, they've struggled more, they've been broken more, but they also have the ability to see things other people don't and grow and express themselves in ways that other people can't. I think that not only is it not true that they'll never enjoy their life, I think that they have a higher capacity to enjoy their life and a higher capacity to find their passion than people who have never been through that struggle. Because they have an appreciation, right?
And I feel like a lot of people I know who are more deeply sensitive, which is there's definitely a correlation between at least certain mental health experiences and sensitivity. You almost have to pursue the things that give you the most joy because you feel things so much bigger. And so the things that most people the people who are working in jobs, they don't really care that much, but they can just kind of grind through it because the experience of dissatisfaction is not that strong.
It doesn't feel harmful.
It doesn't affect them. It doesn't feel so much. They can just stick it out.
Yeah.
If you are deeply sensitive and when you are misaligned, it feels unbearable.
Torturous.
You almost have to figure out, what do I need, and take really good care of your physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, because it's excruciating not to.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might be better positioned because you can't tolerate not having an experience that aligns with you.
Yeah. I think I can have a better life because I am the way that I am, not in spite of it. And if you don't believe that, that's understandable. It took me a long time to come to that conclusion, and I still don't believe it every single day necessarily. But I've seen enough evidence at this point that I can really appreciate life and enjoy myself on a level that I think other people don't. They're not like sucking all of the goodness out of life because they haven't had the experience of being like in the pits the way that some other people have. So
now I do want to say the more aware you are of physical limitations, emotional challenges that make certain experiences more triggering, you might have to be more particular about what work experiences you put yourself into. That's not a bad thing at all.
Right.
But I think you might need to recognize certain environments are not going to be healthy for me. So not just any old job will do. And again, I don't want you to think that this is a limitation. I think that this is very clarifying. I wish more people were so attuned to what they really needed and turned it into non-negotiables. So it might be non-negotiable that you were in an environment where there's true collaboration and not the cutthroat, everybody out for themselves kind of a experience. Or you might need a place that's very supportive and doesn't allow you to just go off and do your own thing. There's a lot of working together, or whatever it is that you need that's going to support your mental health.
Tina asked at the end, how does the law of attraction help people with mental health struggles? I'm not sure the universe can give me a new brain. The law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to call it the law of attraction. The way the universe operates, however you want to think of it. At its core, it's just about alignment. And it's always, it's not like it's sometimes happening. Like the law of attraction, the laws of the universe, they are always in effect. So the way that you can tell where you are at any given point is by how you feel. And if you feel misaligned, and misalignment feels like despair, it feels like fear, it feels like frustration, it feels like overwhelm, it feels like panic, it feels like depression, it feels like anxiety, then you're really misaligned. And the way that you allow yourself to receive good things is to pursue alignment, pursue things and thoughts that make you feel a little bit less stressed, a little bit less anxious, a little bit more possible, a little bit more free. I have a client, for example, who has been, she would totally admit, to her own mental health challenges and struggles. She's such a trooper about working through them so diligently, coaching and therapy. And I think one of her biggest struggles has been keeping herself in misalignment because she's having a hard time accepting that she's not like everyone else. And the hardest thing is just the longer you do that, the longer you keep trying to make what works for other people work for you, the more harm you do to yourself and the more misalignment you create. And for her, alignment is finally going to be, and she's working on it, she's getting there, letting go of the expectation that my career is going to look like other people's career. That passion for me is going to look like what it looks like, what I think it should look like for other people. And when I stop trying to put myself in a box and then like amputate huge aspects of who I am, because she's definitely not like a lot of the people that she's grown up around and in the kind of industry that she's, that she's found herself in. She's far more, she's far more sensitive. She's far more creative. She's not like that. The more that she finally just gives herself permission to be, this is me, this is who I am, a lot of that misalignment is going to drop away. And she's going to be living more in alignment with who she is. And she's going to be able to pursue jobs and ideas and creativities and all sorts of things that are just an expression of who she actually is.
Yeah.
I think
a lot of what I'm hearing in Tina's question is an emphasis on the part of her that she deems broken or not working.
But it's only broken because it's part, but like,
I'm like, what if you're wired the way you are and that wasn't a mistake? What if I'm wired the way I am? And if I can accept that, then I can give myself what I need in all areas of my life that's going to be healthy for who I am, not who I think I should be without certain parts of myself.
Yeah.
What if I'm just okay the way I am and I just maybe need different things in different people, but we all need different things and it's all fine.
I think the TLDR version of this one is that your quote unquote brain is broken in what context? Yeah. Your brain's gonna look broken if you're trying to fit in to an average context. If you're trying to do a career or do quote unquote passion in the way that you think other people are doing it. Maybe people who don't have the same sensitivities or the same depth or the same, whatever as you do. And if you stop trying to operate in that box, all of a sudden your brain might not feel that broken. You might feel like, I'm actually a really well-rounded, fully feeling, interesting, creative person who's feeling like crap and feeling broken because I'm trying to fit into this tiny box that is not satisfactory for all that I am. That's why Kristen and I, and a lot of the people we've coached, as people who are highly sensitive, who others would label with certain mental health dysfunctions, right? Have been able to enjoy our lives, not all the time, certainly not, but like fundamentally.
That shouldn't be anybody's goal.
No, to be able to enjoy our lives and pursue things that we're passionate about, because guess whose terms we're doing it on? Ours. Not anybody else's. The second I'm trying to do something on someone else's terms, you can call me depressed with a capital D.
We couldn't tolerate it. That's what I'm saying. When you're that sensitive and you feel things so intensely, you can't tolerate things that are not a fit for you. I actually see that to be a positive quality. You're not going to be able to get stuck in something that's not good for you. It's going to feel too bad. And that's something that you can actually, it's hard. It's not always fun. Sometimes you wish you could just turn the sensitivity off and just power through. But at the end of it, you're going to be grateful because you're not going to get stuck in something for too long. You can't handle it. Just like Rachel and I could not handle the misalignment of going into an office and doing work we did not care about and feeling trapped in a cube for too many hours a day. Like we couldn't do it. Other people could do it. And I was looking around like, why can they do it? Why can't I? What's wrong with me? But you know what? I'm so glad I couldn't. I'm so glad I was sensitive enough and maybe had some mental health issues that made it hard for me to do it in that context, because then I was able to carve out what I needed. And I've been able to give myself what I need. And life is a million times better.
We wouldn't be here answering this question for you if we hadn't done that. So you're welcome.
I don't think you're broken, Tina. I think you're just wired in the way you're wired and you need certain things. And the clearer you get about them, the easier it's going to be to give them to yourself.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that was a lot, Tina. I hope you handled both of your smackdowns with grace.
Just the most loving, bitch slap.
They came from love.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our last question. Dear Krachel, I'm wondering, how can one tell the difference between authentic desires and sociocultural programming? Is it even possible? I've recently been reading a fascinating book that's opened my eyes to how much my education and upbringing has been influenced by cultural and historical factors, and it's disconcerting. Have I ever had an original thought or opinion about anything? Are my values and ambitions in life really my own? I'm not even sure. That's from B. Oh man, this is such a good question.
Yeah.
Because
it is a good question.
We are all influenced by culture. You can't not be.
So much more than we think we are. Like we simultaneously want to think that we're super unique, and we also want to be like everyone else because we're insecure. But we are humans, we are animals, and we are so easily influenced by our culture and by our groups and by our society, and that's normal. And to some point,
your brain is somewhat wired by the people around you when you're young. So to some degree, like the thoughts and beliefs that you have are often instilled in you by other people telling you or by them modeling certain ways of being. And we take it on. As kids, we take it on. Of course you do. That's all you know. So you're not wrong. And there's times when you feel that disconnect, right? There's times when you're like, I know I've had these times where I'm like, wait, does it actually feel right? Like what I just described, being in that office setting where I'm looking around, I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what everyone around me is doing. Something doesn't feel right. What's up with that? And I could think that as something's wrong with me, or I could say, maybe this programming, this sociocultural programming, doesn't actually fit me. So part of it might be feeling internally checking for alignment or misalignment. I know we keep using that trait, but it's just the best way to describe when something is a fit. Is you feel like something's not lined up properly, or it feels just in flow and natural and smooth. So sometimes you're going to be in a situation and people are going to be sharing their opinion, or they're going to be going about their life in the quote unquote normal way. And you're going to be like, something feels off. I don't know what's up. That might be the real you coming up, against the wall with the sociocultural programming, and you recognize, oh, there's a mismatch here. That's okay. Sure. It takes a while to get there. Sometimes when you're really young, you can't know the difference, and eventually you start to feel the cracks in your belief systems coming through.
I have a favorite way of looking at this that we've used a lot with clients. It's great. It's simple.
It always helps.
And it's elegant. And yeah, it always helps. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do this, but I'll give you a couple examples. One is all right, let's say you're not sure if your desire to have an impressive career is authentic or not. Let's say you're American. You're probably not going to have an easy time deciding, because in this country, we tend to put a lot of
career.
Right. We put a lot of pressure on that. Okay. So an interesting question is to remove yourself as a thought experiment from the context that you're in. So what if you lived in a country where that wasn't the norm? Imagine you moved to I don't know. I feel like Italy is probably a good example of a place where I'm not sure they're as career focused. And I feel like they're more interested in quality of life over attainment or achievement.
I feel like I should have been born there, frankly.
Right. I'm not sure, but let's just say that's how they feel in Italy. So just imagine, okay, I get transplanted there. There's no longer any sociocultural programming or pressure in this space to be impressive or to achieve. In fact, people are going to be more curious about my quality of life and how I'm living than they are about my
ambitious,
career.
They're like, wow, what are you doing? That's okay.
And they're confused, maybe.
Like, why do you want an impressive career? Who really cares? Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. So your immediate reaction is going to tell you a lot. Are you disappointed to be transplanted to a place where your drive isn't rewarded? Like, I have ambition. Like, I don't like that no one's going to care about my ambition. Or maybe are you relieved that you get to let it go and you're allowed to just like live a life without having to prove anything to anybody? I think your immediate reaction, whether it's like disappointment or relief, says a lot. Tells you about what you actually value.
Really want.
Yeah. Right.
The other visual that I like to give people is, imagine, like, let's say you have a decision to make and you feel like, well, I should do this. I should take the higher paying job. Get a couple job offers. I should take the one that pays more money. Because I have financial goals. I want to pay off my student loans. I want to progress up in my career, whatever. But you don't know, am I just wanting that because I live in a capitalist country where that's what we should want, right? That's what we're taught to want. Or do I really want that? Again, this is a thought experiment, but it's highly telling. I want you to imagine you could go into a room. I like to think of it as like a well-lit, bright, white room. You can just there's nobody around. It's soundproof. And you can just be in there and make a choice. And when you walk back out of the room, nobody will ever know what you picked. If you could pick the job that you wanted, or if you could pick to live where you want, or if you could, whatever the decision is, if you could pick it and your family would never know. And maybe even your spouse would never know, or your friends would never know what you picked. What would you pick? You never had to explain it to anybody. You never had to validate it. That can be really telling. Now, I know we don't live in that world. Obviously, you're going to have to probably have to tell some people what you choose. But if you could give yourself permission for just a moment to imagine making a decision and nobody can react because they don't even know, you're probably going to find yourself going to one side of the fence or the other side of the fence pretty clearly.
I did this the other day with one of my clients who was having that concern around, do I value marriage as an institution? Really? Truly? Do I want that for myself? I think I do, but I'm also confused that maybe I want it for the wrong reasons. So like, how do I know? And I think I need to figure it out, because what if I then block myself from attracting the right partner because I have this baggage around the institution? And she said that one of the things that she struggled with was that the idea of making this like very, very like public and permanent declaration of unconditional love and support, and like this vow that you can't ever break. And she's like, but I'm not the kind of person who would get married and then would just be like, well, I'm married now, can't change it. I'm going to be miserable if it turns in a sour direction and like it can't really be fixed. I'm not going to stay in that. Like I would never do that to myself or to another person. But like but I still really struggle with this, like making this vow that you're not supposed to break. And I was like, what if you could get married and only you and whatever, this person doesn't even exist. Well, they do somewhere, but she just hasn't met him yet. I was like, what if you and the other person could get married and no one else knew what you never had to make any sort of public declaration or anything.
Like a secret little elopement and nobody knows what you did.
And no one ever knows. Like they know you're life partners, but they don't know that you're married, right? Because that's part of the reason she liked the idea of marriage, is that it's different than just deciding like, yeah, I guess we'll just stay together indefinitely. That there's like a ceremony to it. There's a ritual to it. And we're not just talking about the wedding itself. We're talking about like, there's like
the transition.
There's like a transition. There's like this ritualistic act, right? And vow making is part of it. And she likes that. And she feels like it's like a level of commitment that she's attracted to. But anyway, but again, part of that also seems really scary and maybe not necessary. Like, well, why do you need to go that far? Like you could just be life partners, Anyway, I was like, well, what if no one knew that you got married? Just you and the other person. She was like, that removes like most of my fear around it. She's like, oh, this is a lot about how I perceive other people are going to judge me if later on down the road I decide this isn't what I want. And if they don't know, then all of a sudden I'm way more interested in the institution and I don't have all these like fears and hangups around it. It's other people's fears and hangups I'm projecting on myself.
And having to explain and
Justify.
rationalize
Yeah.
if you make a different decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's clarifying. It
Very
is
helpful.
clarifying. So remove yourself in one way or the other. Imagine that you're in a culture where they have very different views and values and ways of going about things, or remove all the people temporarily from your mind who you imagine yourself having to justify yourself to. And in that context, you get really clear on what you want in isolation of the reactions of those around you or the beliefs of those around you. I do want to also say, as part of the coaching process that we take people through, one of the pillars, if there's, I guess I would call like 4 pillars that we deep dive into, one of them is getting really super clear about what you want, again, in isolation, removing all the shoulds that you feel like this is what I should want, or this is how I should want to experience my life, or this is what I should care about. And so
not just what you want, what you value on a really deep level. It's not just like, do I want to get married? It's, well, what's my definition of commitment? What's my feeling around, independence? Or if it's like, if it's career values, it's like, well, I'm attracted to stability, but why? Like, what's my value around stability? It's so helpful to understand what your values are and why you value it, and then see how that plays out. And what's so funny about, take this on another tangent again, but Kristen will like this. With that same client, one of the things that actually made her, in a funny kind of way, more, it helped her embrace the fact that she does like the institution of marriage, as traditional as it is. And as much as she was kind of like, resisting that urge in herself as like a good feminist, was, oh, but I'm a thriver and I really value stability and like predictability and consistency. And I'm totally embracing of that in my career. I have no judgment around myself about the fact that I want that in a career, but I have all this baggage around my desire for it in a romantic relationship. And if I've given myself permission to have it in a career, I can give myself permission to have that in my romantic relationship, because my values transcend context. Like, this is just part of how I'm wired, and it's honoring how I'm wired. That's the importance of understanding how you're wired and what you value.
Yes. Yes. And the beautiful part about that is the clearer you get about, here's what I really care about. Here's what I really value. Here's what I deeply desire. And it's about me, right? This is a very personal process that we take people through. Not only do all of those decisions, big and small, get a lot clearer, but you don't find yourself second guessing and over analyzing and questioning and doubting later on, because you already got to the core of what you really and deeply want and what you believe and what you care about. And everything else from there just gets so much simpler. It's when you're not really sure, do I want this in the first place, that you end up circling, overthinking in your head. And then you can't really commit to anything because you're like, but what if? Do I want that?
And then I promise what happens when you know what you want and who you are, and you feel very grounded in that and confident in that, is that it doesn't matter if everyone else wants it too, and you're the 8 billionth person to decide you also want that, or no one else wants it except you. You're cool either way. You're like, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter to you. You're like, what I want is what matters. It doesn't matter if it's popular or not, if it's conventional or not. I feel good about my choices either way, because I know who I am and I know why I want it.
Yeah. So I know that's more of like a teaser than an answer, but I just wanted you to know there's a whole process around this. Like we can give you some ways of starting to get that clarity with some of those thought experiments. But if you want more around that, like, let me tell you, we got more. That's like a big part of coaching because it's so foundational to everything else that you do. You have to get really clear on who am I and what do I want and not what people want for me.
To quote, she's
one
the
of the
man.
Big questions we got to answer.
I got a lifetime of knowledge. I haven't seen that movie in so long. We really need to watch that at some point.
It's a good throwback.
My favorite Scooter. Okay. B, I hope that helps you.
Mm-hmm.
And
good questions.
Really, really
good deep questions this time.
Yeah. Very smart audience we have. But
I love
law of attraction. Like attracts like.
Like attracts like.
Oh, man. Okay. I do like myself. And that's what it's all about. And I like all y'all too. So,
as always, let us know.
Yeah.
What you think. If this struck a chord, leave us a comment.
Send us an update if you're someone who's asked a Dear Krachel question in the past and we answered it. And I had a lot of questions and like I had enough and I did have an update come in and I just didn't have space for all of them. So I'm hoping that I can share, some updates in the next couple of episodes of Dear Krachel. But I love an update. We love it. Or like question round 2. You're like, yes, you answer that. And now this. I'm like, all right.
Or brought up a new question now. Okay.
I'll tango with you. Oh my God. Also, do you want to hear a very quick little story?
Always. About
someone? Well, you're gonna resonate. And this last question we just answered made me think of it. I was coaching a new client this morning, and this was our second call. We've only had one call so far. And she comes back and she's like, Rachel, I think you're gonna be really proud of me. And I was like, what did you do? And she's like, well, I'm a type 9. Like, for those of you who understand what that means, for those of you who don't, just like people pleaser, very conflict avoidant,
highly adaptable, flexible,
has a hard time even knowing what they think or what they want, like
much less expressing it.
She was like, I had an opinion, and she was being dead serious. Like she was not joking. She was like, she was laughing at herself, but she meant it. She's like, I had an opinion this last week. And I was like,
just
oh my
one.
God. And I was like, who did you share it with? And she goes, oh, no. I didn't share it.
Oh, I feel her. Fellow type 9. But I have one.
Okay, but this is even funnier. It wasn't with a person. It was with a podcast. She was listening to an episode of a podcast and the host was saying something and she goes, you know what? I don't agree with you. I died. I was like, it wasn't with an actual person in real life. And she definitely didn't say it out loud. But we cracked up because I was like, it's progress. To even acknowledge I have an opinion that differs from that person's was like a breakthrough for her.
I mean, we're laughing, but that's honestly a breakthrough for a lot of people at the beginning of coaching. Like, it really I don't know what I actually think or what I've gotten so caught up in what other people think and other people's opinions. I don't even know. So it's funny, but like, I get it.
Sometimes that's where we have to start. So like, for those of you who are like, oh, I can't figure out why I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, because you don't literally know how to have an opinion about anything. I mean, that's genuinely where we're starting with some people. So no wonder we have to work through like the fears and the beliefs and the crap that's obscuring you from even having your own original thoughts and ideas way before we can get clear on what do you want to do with your career or your life. Baby steps, man. She can't even voice her opinion to a person yet. So like, we gotta dial it on back.
Oh, I love that.
Oh my God. Okay.
So remember, if you're like, oh, maybe you weren't sure when we first mentioned that we're taking applications for clients that this was for you, and now you're like, oh, maybe this brought up some stuff. Some of our answers maybe highlighted. Maybe I could use some coaching. Check out the page, read all about it. We do want you to read through that one-on-one coaching page on our site, because it's going to give you more insight into the 2 options and some of what to expect. So read through that. And if that all sounds aligned with what you're looking for, then fill out an application and we'll get back to you.
Okay. We will be happy to chat with some of you. Excited about meeting some of you. IRL, not really, but like, over the phone, over Zoom. And we will be back next Friday, the 13th. Oh,
I know.
A little witching hour. Appropriate. I'm having a conversation with a normal person, which just love it. Another example of someone who to kind of, to Tina's question earlier, did things her own way and decided to be unconventional. And lo and behold, got great friggin' results.
Mm-hmm. Love to hear those stories. Can't hear enough of them.
Yep. So I got one more for you. So we will see you then.
All right. See you then.